Hey everyone, today's episode of All About Websites is actually all about your domain name. Now, your domain name is the URL or, the name of your website. And that's what we're going to talk about. A quick announcement before we move ahead. For those of you who'd like to learn more about creating your own website and want help in mapping out, in planning out your copy, your layout, your tech for your website, then come join us for the free 5-day challenge, which is which I love to call the website planning party, where I'll help you plan out everything you need about your website. Here's the link. Just give me a minute. And Facebook doesn't seem to be liking my comment. Okay, so I've put the link in the comments below for those of you who'd like more help beyond just your domain. Now, let's get back to your domain. Like I said, it's the thing that shows up on top of your browser window. That's the name of your website. And I've seen women obsess with getting the right domain name. I've been part of lots of programs where I've seen women spend weeks and months and about their domain name and run do a numerology analysis, do all kinds of different analysis on their domain name, which is all fine. But you know what? What really matters about your domain name is how easy is it for people to remember it, okay? And how well does it associate with your brand? Now, if you are a woman running a service-based business online, okay, if you're helping people, other people one-on-one or in small groups, if you are the face of your brand, if you are your business, then the first recommendation I give people is don't bother coming up with catchy, fancy domain names. Use your own name as your domain name because your business will evolve over time. Okay. And you don't want to have to go back and keep changing your domain name because you started with one area of work. You started with teaching people how to write their resumes, but then you went on to teach them all about copywriting instead. So you don't want to start off with a website which says your best resume and then have to go and create another website when your business evolves because the first domain name doesn't make sense anymore. So if you are your brand, if you are your business, just use your domain name, your own name as your domain name. That's tip number one for choosing a domain name. And in doing so, try to remember not to unless your name is very, very difficult to spell, or it's a common word. For example, friend. So I had a client whose surname was Friend, but most people remember friends as Friends. So it would mean there would always be a confusion between when people search for her name. Okay. So what do you do in cases like that? Use the regular spelling instead of fancy spellings. Use the more commonly accepted spelling instead of fancy spellings. Now, yes, there are brands like Google who created their own domain name out of the blue. It sounded like nothing that ever came before it. But then they also did a lot of marketing. They also had a full marketing campaigns around making this name acceptable. And as a woman solopreneur who's bootstrapping, you may not have that kind of push, right? So first rule was use your name. Second rule, keep the spelling simple. Third rule, do not use any special characters in your domain name, whether it's hyphen, dots, dashes, anything. Do not use any kind of special characters in your domain name because it makes it difficult for people to remember it, okay, and to type it out. For example, my name, Richa Jain, is a very, very common name in India. And if you search for Richa Jain, you will find a few hundred of them. In fact, the domain name for Richa Jain, Richajain, was already taken way before I created my website. So what did I do? I came up with something that sounds similar to my name, but is a more common term for Americans and Australians, because my clients are all abroad. My clients are mostly Americans. So when I say the richer Jane, it's easier for Americans to remember that as compared to RICHAJAIN, which is something that they've never heard. But when I say the richer Jane, they understand the word richer, they understand the word Jane, JANE, and it makes it so much easier for them to remember. Okay, so which brings us back to your domain name should be easy for your clients to remember. Preferably use your own name so that your website can evolve with your business, your website can keep up with your business. Then no fancy spelling, no hyphens or any other special characters. And the fourth rule is prefer .com rather than anything else. These days you have all kinds of fancy extensions for domain. Extension is the part that comes after the dot. You have all kinds of fancy extensions. Don't use them, because though it may seem clever, it's difficult to remember. So if the .com version of your domain name is available, use that first, buy that. Okay. And if it has already been taken by someone and you go and buy the .co version or the .nz version, again, what's going to happen is people are not going to remember the extension that it's .co or .nz, and they're going to, when they're searching or when they're typing it out, they are by default going to type out .com, because that's what we've been used to for the last 15 years or so the internet has been in existence. Okay, and they're going to end up on someone else's website, and then they're going to be confused. So if the .com version of your name is already taken, don't go and try use a clever extension. Instead, come up with an alternative spelling or something else catchier that is related to your name, like mine, thericherjane.com. Okay, so we talked about how to choose the right domain name. Now let's talk about where and how to buy your domain name from. Most hosting providers, when you purchase a 1 year hosting plan with them, do give you 1 year a domain name free for a year. Okay, so if you're going to be buying hosting, don't buy a domain name separately. Most hosting service providers will give it to you for free when you sign up for their yearly plan. But if that's not the case with your service provider, then you can go and buy your domain name from namecheap.com or godaddy.com, which have some of the cheapest domain name. Now, the same domain name, depending on where you buy it from, can cost you less or more. There is no fixed price for a domain name. It depends on where you're buying it from, and it depends on how common the term is. Okay, so on an average from Namecheap, you can actually get a domain name for as cheap as $20 a year. Other places, there are certain service providers, domain name sellers, where you can even buy it for $1 a month. That's $12 a year. But then, when you buy it that cheap, chances are high you're going to run into issues. GoDaddy and Namecheap are great places to buy your domain name. And where you buy your domain name, you don't necessarily have to buy your domain name from the same place you buy your hosting. They can be different. Okay, all you have to do, if they are different, is to connect them via DNS. Set up your DNS settings, that's the domain name service settings, and you're all good to go. What else? Okay, so I think I covered everything I wanted to share about domains, but let's do a quick recap. 4 rules for buying or choosing your domain name. First, if you are a woman running a service-based business and you work directly with clients, use your domain name, use your own name as your domain name preferably, because you are your brand. Second, don't use fancy spellings. Third, don't use special characters in your domain name. Fourth, prefer .com over any other extensions. And where to buy your domain name from? Preferably your hosting should, if you buy for a year, they should give you a free domain name. If not, go to Namecheap and GoDaddy. And simply by setting up the domain name servers, you can connect your domain name with your hosting. Okay, so domain name is often the very first place that people start when it comes to planning out their website, but there is a whole lot more. There's your homepage and your about page and all of your pages, and then all of the tag and all of the copywriting and all of the layouts. And it's a whole lot of learning. If you would like a simple way to plan out your entire website, what to write on each and every page, your homepage, your about page, etc., how to structure them, what tech to use, then come join me for the website planning party. It's a free 5-day challenge where I walk you through all of that. And I've just shared the link to sign up in the comments. Go check it out. It's absolutely free. Okay. Thanks for joining me for this episode of All About Websites. Till next time, keep shining. Bye bye. Oh, and in the next video in this series, we're going to talk about hosting. What is your hosting? Where to buy it from? What pointers to look out for when you are buying? Okay. Till next time, keep shining. Bye bye.